Good evening. It's my Hitchcock. Welcome to the Benson Movie Club. I'm so delighted you are with us. And in this episode, we have Michael J. Merrick as we discuss for this All Hallows Eve.
Are you going to speak about this for the whole thing?
No. We're going to do our top 10 Alfred Hitchcock movies. Because we love Alfred Hitchcock, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Why do you love him?
He made some great movies.
Yes. Such as these stacked behind us. Yeah, I've always liked Hitchcock. I think the first Hitchcock film I saw was Vertigo.
Mine might be The Birds.
I like The Birds.
Yeah.
But are they on my list?
Did I?
No, I think he's
very influential, isn't he? Certainly to us as budding filmmakers, but also just to cinema in general, especially thrillers, suspense, and horror.
You get, because of his popularity, though, you do get a lot of people sort of a bit snobby towards him, I find, as well. Mm-hmm. Some people go as if like he's overrated, but I think that's a bit harsh. I think he warrants the success that he's had, and the fame that he's had. And so since Michael is also a very big Hitchcock fan and has seen a large portion of his movies, I thought you'd be better to have on here do top 10 Hitchcock movies rather than Ben, because Ben's would all be Mike Leigh films. He'd have missed the point of the whole episode. Right, so how do you want to do it? Do you want to go first or should I? We'll do it like one at a time. What is number 10? What is the 10th Alfred Hitchcock film of all time, according to Michael Berwick?
It's very difficult. The 10 was hard to put together. Well, mostly. I mean, I had a good, I think, it'd be like 13, 14 films. And there were some that were around number 10 that were teetering around that I could really put them higher, but I've gone with Rebecca as number 10.
Rebecca.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. So I know that you've watched it quite recently, so it would be more fresh in your mind, and it might enable you to like put it somewhere a little bit higher, maybe. I remember it pretty fondly, which is why I said the top 10. I think just being in the top 10, it's obviously it's a brilliant film.
So that's
great casting. Obviously, Laurence Olivier was great in that movie as well. I remember lots of great things about it. I remember I really enjoyed the film.
Also had
I've seen a lot of other films more recently again.
Joan Fontaine, and also George Sanders. He's the one. He's got a fantastic voice. He's the one who, little mild spoiler for Rebecca, tries blackmailing him. No, he's got a fantastic voice.
I hear he went up to London, left his little bride all alone. It's too bad. Isn't he rather afraid that somebody might come down and carry you off? All your precautions were in vain. The mistress of the house was hiding behind the door. Oh, what about presenting me to the bride?
This is Mr. Fabell, madam.
How do you do?
Well, won't you have some tea or something?
Well, now, isn't that a charming invitation? I've been asked to stay to tea, Danny, and I have a good mind to accept. Oh, well, perhaps you're right. Pity, just we're getting on so nicely. We mustn't lead the young bride astray, must we, Jasper?
And when I was listening, I thought, I know that voice. He does the voice of Shere Khan in Jungle Book.
Really?
Yeah. So next time you watch Rebecca...
It has been a long time.
Yeah.
Really long time. Good 10 years, I think, since I've seen it.
I think it's because I'd seen Jungle Book fairly recently, and I always loved Shere Khan as a villain, and I always loved his voice, because I always thought he was such a theatrical British voice. And then when he was in Rebecca and he started talking, I thought, I know that voice. I know it. So I had to look him up on IMDb, and as soon as I see Jungle Book, I went to Shere Khan. Didn't have to look. So, yeah. Good choice.
There were a couple of others that I could have put in number 10, which I won't mention until the end, as they're honourable mentions, but which I probably have seen more recently than Rebecca. But I know Rebecca really did. When I saw it, it stuck with me for a long time. And I particularly enjoyed it. It was really atmospheric. I really enjoyed the mood of the film, like the Kate where it was set. And it won Best Picture, didn't it, as well?
Did it?
1940.
I love some of the dialogue in it as well. I love some of the way just like the bit at the very beginning. So you got Laurence Olivier on the cliff, and she's like, "No, don't do it." He's like, "What are you talking about?" And then he tells her to go away. Go away, standing up here screaming. You think it's such. I just love the way people used to speak, especially old English films.
The romance side of it was a little bit different to some of his other films. Even though it had like I suppose it was not a romance, but it's just quite dark as well, isn't it? But it was a little bit different to some of the other films.
Okay, so that was a good choice for number 10. I had a similar problem to you. So obviously both of our lists is just for today. If we done this tomorrow, chances are all the positions are changed. But I've got at number 10, I Confess.
Interesting.
I Confess, Montgomery Cliff, which is about a priest who is in the confession box when a man confesses to murdering his wife. And then he becomes the main suspect, and he can't explain his whereabouts because that would be going against the sanctity of confession and being a Catholic. So it's I liked that sort of. That's what there's similar films, which again I'll mention in the honourable mentions, which very similar themes to I Confess, but this one out over them for me because I liked the idea of the church being a reason that he can't, and he's even got the guy who confessed the murder pointing a finger at him saying, yeah, he's a bit suspicious, that priest. And you think, anyone else, if he wasn't a priest, you can explain where you was. But, it was also like, it's very similar. There was a film in the 90s called Priest, which me and Ben done a podcast on, which is more where a girl confesses to her dad abusing her. And again, he can't tell people what's going on. And you think it's such a unique dilemma, which is hard to, it's a great situation for that. And I thought he was really good in it, Montgomery Cliff. I haven't seen him in many films, but I thought he was, he's quite captivating in it.
Yeah.
So that's my 10th.
I've seen it, but again, that's probably 10 years ago again as well. I do remember enjoying it. I can't even really remember much about it at all.
No, I mean,
a lot of his films have really, faded in my mind a bit.
Most of them I haven't seen for at least 15 years, I reckon. There's very few that I watch regularly, if you know what I mean. But the ones that I do, they're higher up on the list. So my number 9 is Dial M for Murder, which, it's a very memorable film. I think they remade it. They kind of remade it with Michael Douglas in something. Don't Say a Word or something like that.
Don't Say a Word. Yeah, it was.
Was it called Don't Say a Word? But again, it's what I like about Dial M for Murder as well, which he's done in a few films, which I'm sure we'll get to, is the limited environments. It's all
one location, isn't it?
Just one location, pretty much. And it's really, because he's always called like the master of suspense. So I thought with that sort of really shows it off in Dial M for Murder, because knowing what's going to happen, or thinking what's going to happen, she's going to get murdered and all this stuff. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It's been about at least, I think the last time I watched it was before Lily was born. So a considerable while ago. But I like it. It's a very simple situation. And it's a great title as well.
It's a great title.
Dial M for Murder.
Everything.
Yeah.
Really cool. Great concept.
So what's your number 9?
My number 9, which might surprise you being lower in the list, is Rope.
Might not be in my list at all.
Knowing that I'm a big James Stewart fan as well. And I love the film. Actually, when I was in college, it was quite a big film for me. Because it wasn't one of the... I saw it quite early in my findings of like Hitchcock films. And obviously, the big thing about it was the fact that it was all made to look like it was one take. Sort of the hidden cuts behind things and like 10 minutes.
Which are quite obvious now when you look at them, I think.
They are, yeah. And like the acting, although it is a bit sort of over the top and quite theatrical, I love the whole, again, the concept's brilliant. The idea of two guys killed their friend, they put him in a dining kind of chess table and lay dinner out on top of it, and they'd invite loads of people over to see if they can get away with it. And then obviously they're playing off the two characters, one that's quite confident and one's complete opposite. And then obviously James Stewart's role in it, which they reckon, or Hitchcock thought he miscast him, or it was kind of said that they didn't think he was really right for the role.
Which I didn't get, because I thought he was perfect for the role. I know of other films where I thought he might be a little bit miscast, Jimmy Stewart, but this definitely wasn't one of them for me, because I think he wasn't miles older than them.
He himself or Hitchcock, one of them said that they didn't think he was right. I think
Well,
it was James Stewart, actually.
Whichever one of them, they was wrong, I think, because I think he was the right age gap higher than the kids that they would look up to him. Because if he was too old, they'd think, why would we want to impress that fuddy-duddy? If he was too young, they'd see him as a peer. I think he was the right, like how someone would look up to the older brother almost. They were trying to impress him. So no, I thought he was perfectly cast for that. You know, and he's sort of got that right amount of swagger in it. You know, you can see he's intelligent and he's sort of being all cocky at first, and then he starts working things out. You know, it's great slow pace, and like Dialing for Murder, all in one location. Yeah, you know,
it's very clever. Like the idea of it's like a play, and it's because the whole thing was filmed with a track and dolly system, all just along like a set, like one like a play, and it just moves between sort of 3 rooms, doesn't it? Just back and forth, and it kind of goes on and on and on. And it's just about the characters and the dialogue, isn't it? It's pretty suspenseful, and I really enjoyed watching it. And I've watched it so many times. And at college, I would have probably put it a lot higher because it was I really took a lot from it, and I used to watch it a lot and study things about it. But it's fallen a little bit lower on my list because of other things.
But it's still on your list, so makes
absolutely. It's a great film.
Yeah. So
that's my number 9. My number 8 is Shadow of a Doubt.
I don't believe you.
I've watched that a lot, actually. That was apparently Hitchcock's favourite film of his.
Yeah, I've heard that, with the uncle.
Uncle Charlie.
That was actually, I think, when I bought my box sets, that was the second film that I watched out of all of them. I can't remember, but I remember watching that thinking, oh, it's really sort of, because the one before that was, I think, Saboteur. And then, which I thought was okay, but then watching that one, I thought, oh, okay, I like really more where it's going. Yeah,
it's tense. It's really tense. You just don't know, because we know, or we suspect, don't we? With Uncle Charlie, and they kind of follow. They're following it, and you're kind of always hoping that it's not true, and then the way it unfolds, it's a really good pace. It looks great. Great cast, Joseph Cotton as well, wasn't it? It was the lead, Uncle Charlie, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah, no, that was, I'm going to say now, that's not on my list.
Is it not?
That was one of the ones I was tossing up with I Confess.
Interesting.
Because even though it's a different outcome, it's still that sort of, I'm going to confess now, it actually didn't make it on my list. But it was going to be it is an honourable mention for me. But that didn't quite make it to my list. But it's I really enjoyed it. And I just don't think Charlie can ever be a villain, really. Uncle Charlie or otherwise.
What I liked about it is it felt like a very real place, a very real world, and a sort of real family. And that the kind of themes didn't really feel like something you would have seen a lot of, especially around that time in the 40s. Yeah. It was 40s, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it felt like a sort of wholesome sort of part of like white picket fence America.
But there's this guy who's part of your family, but he's done some bad things, and I like that. I found that really interesting, and I guess I was hoping that maybe it wasn't real, wasn't true, and he was also really charismatic and quite great to watch on screen, and what he was trying to do on his sort of journey, and sort of follow him, don't we? And then we see the family, and I think it's really, really good.
No, I think it's good. It's a good choice, but as I said, didn't quite make my list. My number 8 is Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, too far away.
Yeah, which I've only watched fairly recently. Like in preparation for this, I'd made a list of like ones I hadn't seen, and it made it onto my list because I love the acting in it. I love the pacing of it. I love the what's the place called?
Mandalay, secretive and silent.
Isn't it Mandalay?
Mandalay, yes. She keeps talking about Mandalay, and you just look at this fantastic set. How they make it look like a big gothic castle. I think it's actually shot.
Incredible.
Yeah. And because I think it starts in Monte Carlo, I think, and then goes there. She meets him there, doesn't she? And then when they're going to like this big Mandalay, and all the servants, in particular her, the villain of the piece, how she's so intimidating. He told her not to blink. Hitchcock said to her not to blink just to make her stares more intense. You think, what an evil bitch. I loved the whole film. My only thing is, I would have slightly done the ending different.
Okay.
Only because part of me thinks, right, this is a spoiler for Rebecca again. Is
maybe don't say it. Actually, just cut this out because I've forgotten it, and I'm going to watch it again with Lauren.
Oh,
because I haven't seen it in, like I said, about 10 years, and
Yeah.
I sort of loosely remember, but I almost try. You know that thing when you try and say to yourself,
how do you remember it ending?
I can't really. My brain's so foggy on it. I just
Okay.
I need to watch it again, and then it'll probably end up being higher from my list.
Okay.
But I know that I loved it, and it would definitely be in my top 10. That's why I put it at number 10, because I felt like
Yeah.
it was a bit faint. I can't put it higher because there's not a lot to say about it. Whereas all the other films, I've got loads to talk about.
Well, okay, I won't spoil the ending. It's just how it ends. I would have ended it the opposite way. Okay, so that's not too much of a spoiler.
No.
So I'll do my 7.
Yeah.
Rope.
There you go.
So we're there and thereabouts. We're just sort of swapping it around a bit. I'm really fond of Rope. I like it a lot. I love the, like you said, about the one shot attempt that he does. I like how the characters, because I hate them. I hate the two cocky kids, but how in the end it works out how I want it to work out. You know, try not to spoil it too much. Whereas there's other
Do you
films.
feel a little bit sorry for the weaker, the Farley Granger's character? That was a bit weaker than.
No.
No.
But I think it's more a reflection of me. I don't take too much pity on someone unless they have learning difficulties. Someone
I feel
like
like
that.
he should get comeuppance, but there was a bit. You know how you can sometimes feel sorry for a villain, can't you, in a film, or as an antagonist, I should say. But because even though he was wrong, he was so cowardly and weak, wasn't he, in comparison? That he felt a little bit like, oh God, kind of.
He was sort of bullied into it.
He didn't really
almost.
want to do it. He was bullied in, even though it was wrong. He was bullied into it. And yeah, it's a bit of a.
But that's the thing. I mean, maybe when I was younger, I used to have more sympathy towards people like that. But sometimes I just think, no, regardless of your own safety or your own need to sort of impress people, you should do the moral right thing. You know.
And at the end of the day, they killed somebody.
Yeah. So he,
pay for it. Yeah.
And what I don't like is, films like, is it Funny Games? And there's a few like that. I think Eden Lake, maybe. I don't like these ones where there's these young people getting away with murder, pretty much. And with Rope, I felt like it ends how it should end in a way. I'm rooting for Jimmy. I'm thinking, come on, well, get there.
What they've done was somehow
justified because they're superior. I hate that. Again, I don't like. Was it Funny Games with Tim Roth?
It's Tim Roth, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think it's Tim Roth and Naomi Watts.
Yeah, it is.
And you got the sort of like the upper class people looking down on other people, thinking they can do better. It really grates me.
Yeah, me too.
They feel as if they're mentally superior and stuff. No, you've had a good education. It does mean you're more impressive. But that's my number 7, Rope.
Okay.
So what's your number 7?
My number 7 is North by Northwest.
Ah.
Yeah, which probably should be higher.
That's pretty high.
Oh, I think it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a great film, isn't it? It's almost like the precursor to a Bond, isn't it? That's what the whole thing was not modelled on, but I know that Fleming had Cary Grant in mind, didn't he? When he was,
he would make a good Bond. Although
character,
I think by the time he got to North by Northwest, he was a bit too old to do Bond. But it was.
That was what I think. That might have been half it all, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because it was late 50s, wasn't it?
Northwest.
Yeah.
Because he's someone. I think he's done 4 films with Hitchcock. Cary Grant. Yeah.
We got North by Northwest. We've got Notorious. Oh.
Yeah, Notorious.
Catch a Thief.
Yeah.
Catch a Thief.
Yeah.
There's something else, isn't there?
North by Northwest.
Anyway.
Yeah, he's done 4 of them with same as Jimmy. Jimmy's done 4, isn't he? 4, yeah. I think that was his last one. Cary Grant was his last one.
And it's a brilliant film. It's act, isn't it? And it's funny. He's just Cary Grant, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's charismatic.
It's fun. Clever and funny, and it's
great story.
Great pace. It just keeps going all the way through it. In fact, it's been a long time since I watched it. I want to watch it again.
Locations, incredible.
I went there this year, didn't I?
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore. I actually went into the diner. No, the where you got where he gets shot, and you got Mount Rushmore behind it. I went in there to the exact place, videoed it, and these bloody microphones didn't work. And I was talking a little bit while I was in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If I've still got the footage, I'll put it on this. But it was great just to sort of be like where it's sort of all happens and everything.
Yeah, that's
cool. I think Hitchcock had to do like they built the Mount Rushmore. Obviously, they weren't allowed to climb over the heads and stuff like that. But I think it looks great.
It looks epic, doesn't it, when you're watching it? I can imagine at the time when that came out, it's a pretty huge film. It's a big movie, like blockbuster. And obviously, you've got the famous scene where the crop duster kind of coming down and chasing him. Obviously, it's very obviously green screened.
Yeah.
But it's still brilliant. And it's the pace, isn't it? The cutting, the editing, the performance. All really,
and I think at the time as well, people would have been like, because you don't know it's going to happen. Once you know the scene, if you've seen it, so many things get spoiled, like the shower scene and stuff like that, and the crop duster, because it becomes part of movie history.
That's right, yeah. So
that
real or some sort
when it's happening, you suddenly go, oh, here's the crop duster scene, which I think happened to me when I first watched it, which was a bit annoying. I would have been more surprised thinking, oh God, the plane's shooting at him.
Yeah.
I think even Simpsons had parodied it, which always sort of spoils things.
This is what a cornfield looks like, honey.
But no, that's a good. I think 7's a good place for it.
I think it's one of the bigger movies in terms of production as well for Hitchcock, because a lot of them are smaller locations and a bit more sort of different, slower paced, maybe a bit more suspenseful, a bit more kind of. Whereas that was a sort of felt like an all and out sort of espionage kind of different sort of move. I think.
Yeah,
I felt that way.
So what's your 6 then?
Is The Birds. The Birds at number 6.
Okay, cool.
Again, it could have been higher. I think it's the first film I watched. I remember being frightened watching it as a kid. I watched it. I remember being on with my mum and that and seeing eyes that were pecked out and stuff, and being like, oh my God, this is horrific. So I saw it from that perspective young, and I've obviously watched it a few times since older. Quite a big movie as well. Great sort of set pieces and performances again, and use of it all looks brilliant even now. I love the town where it's set,
and then there's no explanation for it.
No.
They just suddenly start attacking people,
going,
which could happen,
and it's terrifying.
Yeah,
it really is quite scary. I think probably where we're more desensitized now, probably not as frightening as other things.
But if this is the thing, in theory, it could happen.
The birds turn,
and that's one of those things. There's not a lot we can do. It's the one creature we find it hard to. I mean, we can swim a bit, can't fly at all, and these dangerous. I love birds in general.
I see images in the phone box and stuff coming all angles. It's like
God, yeah.
It's pretty full on.
Again, parodied in Simpsons.
I need the biggest seed bell you have. No, that's too big.
Stupid, but
where I always feel like it's a proper blockbuster of its time. You can imagine the hype around it, the advertisements, because of the way it looked, the sounds, the themes.
Also, where Hitchcock was like, it was after Psycho, wasn't it? So it was at that point, everyone was just excited about what's his next film going to be.
Because of the way it looks and the way it's set, it's one of those I can imagine at the time seeing it in the cinema and being in awe of it. I think it's a good experience.
My number 6, Strangers on a Train. Strangers on the Train.
Yeah.
Which the concept of that is amazing. I love the idea of it's a great idea. Like you killed the person who hurts me, and of course it was remade as Throw Mama from the Train, weren't it?
I've not seen that. I've had.
That's sort of like a joke version of it. Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito.
That's right.
Yeah, but I love the setup for it, and you can see which one of them's more into it than the other. You think, what would I do in that situation? Because a bloke talking to you on the train like that, you're like, just humouring him. Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do that. And then all of a sudden, someone kills the person who's been getting your nerves, and then they come to you, right, you do mine. No, it's not what I want to do. And how do you work your way out of it? The acting in it's great. I think they're both fantastic in it, working off each other, and also the climax at the end. You
epic scene as well.
Yeah.
In fact, the whole world there and the tunnel of love they go through, don't they?
Yeah.
And all of that kind of the way it looked, the cinematography was great.
Yeah, the fairground's a great setting because at that point the whole thing's sort of like spiraling out of control anyway.
Good place to end.
Yeah, so it's sort of like so hectic. You think, well, he could die, he could lose this. You know, it could not work out how he wants it to. So no, yeah, it's a great film. Did you think I'd have it higher?
No, about what did you say?
Six.
That was six. No, about mid, I reckon. Yeah.
Well, my number.
I don't want to predict what your top five are. Go on.
Go on, have a prediction. We're
Number
halfway.
five.
Just say 5 films. I'm not going to say if you're right or wrong, and try and guess whether.
Well, you're gonna have Vertigo in there, Psycho, Rear Window, and The Birds, and either Notorious or I don't know. Let's crack on anyway. You tell me.
Number 5, North by Northwest.
I was going to say that one. That was the other one.
Oh, I was going to say that.
I was thinking we've already spoken about it. It wouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
And then actually, that was only my list.
Yeah. No. Yeah. North by Northwest. Similar to what we said before. It's just I love. It's not as serious in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Even obviously it's serious, but it's not as dark or sort of as some of his other ones.
No.
You know, the ones all circling around murder and betrayal and stuff. This is more like a James Bond film, but a guy who doesn't want to be James Bond, he ends up having to do it, and he steps up, and it's so good. He's so many good like little clever moments from him, from this everyman, faking his own shooting and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic film. There's not much more I can say about it that we haven't said, but it's definitely worth revisiting for me.
I could watch it again.
Come on then, let's go watch it.
Okay.
What's your number 5 then?
Is Strangers on a Train. Strangers on a Train.
Wait, what was your 6?
The Birds.
Oh, right, I thought we were almost. So we're kind of close, aren't we? Yeah.
It's an amazing film. First time we studied it when I was at college, looking at film, and there was a lot of talk about it in terms of like the connotations with certain things or the way they used certain things. Because at the beginning, if you remember, there's loads of the whole beginning sequence is like close-ups of feet and like there's all this stuff to do with. We were talking about identifying characters based on fashion and all this stuff. I remember all going really into detail with that film. What I think is
Crisscross.
Crisscross, yeah. As you said it earlier, really great concept.
Yeah.
Great characters, great acting. He was just really creepy, Robert Walker in it, as Bruno, and he was just he kept pushing, didn't he? He kept pushing Barley Granger's character. What was his name? Guy.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't leave him alone. It was borderline harassment, even though that's what he wanted. Then he kind of just does it anyway, doesn't he?
But I think, what it does is some of the best Hitchcock films, you can explain the plot in about 3 or 4 lines, and that's it. You say, right, so 2 guys on the train, and they agree to murder each other's.
Well, he doesn't really agree, does he?
No.
Guy doesn't want to do it. Bruno goes off and just does it anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then he kind of feels like then he's almost the whole film with him chasing him to say, well, you have to hold up your end of the bargain.
Give him a guilt trip. Major guilt trip on him.
Yeah. By the way, I killed yours, so it's your turn. What do you think my top 4 is?
I think. Let me try and guess your number 4. I think your number 4 is Vertigo. Go on, what is it?
Dial M for Murder.
Oh, right. Yes, there we go.
I hold that really high, and actually for some of the reasons that you hit on earlier, in that it's so simple and minimalistic. Basically, all set in that flat. Loads of dialogue, and the tension's built through the dialogue. And I loved watching it all uncover, and the whole thing with the key and everything.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that kind of, and it's really subtle. All down to even Hitchcock's little picture of him on using a photo on the wall in that film.
Oh, was he?
In the living room.
That's his cameo, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all quite low key, but it builds really, really, really well. And I've watched it quite a few times. I remember originally watching it with my mum and being like, watched loads of the Hitchcock films for the first time with my mum. That one really just stuck with me. And I watched it a good few times, almost straight away. It had all of those things that I loved about film. Really.
Yeah, and I love those.
It's simple, and it was spot on.
Simple location, minimal cast, which obviously that's been an influence on me. Like whenever I think of like stories, some of the stories that I've wanted to do, I keep it in one location. I think try and make it as simple as possible, because sometimes people try to be really complex and they try and add too much, and you go, I'm lost now, I don't care anymore.
You can come up with an idea for a film set in basically one place, one room, and keep an audience on the edge of their seat for that. I think that's incredible, isn't it? Like, to be able to do that through performance and through just the building suspense like that.
That's what I want to do with Tombed. What influenced that? But that's not on my list. So is it my turn? Number 4.
Yeah.
The Birds. Yeah, call it The Birds. I love The Birds. The thing is, what gets on my nerves sometimes is if you look at other people's lists, it won't be in their top 10. It'll be a lot lower. I think I imagine at the time, coming off the back of Psycho, which was so huge, it's got big shoes to fill. But I love The Birds. I love the idea that it's got this one completely different story. This woman really pursuing the man, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to sort of impress him and stuff," and then just start getting attacked, and they think, "A bit odd. I got attacked by a bird. Oh well, let's carry on with our normal sort of story." Next thing, and the scene of her outside the school as well, where you got the crows, like all the birds, slowly one by one. You think there's like no music. It's literally just, and you're begging for her to turn around. You think, turn around! As soon as you turn around now, while there's only 6 of them on there. And it's not until it's complete, she sees one, follows it, and then you see, and the school's about to come out as well. You think, those kids are mincemeat. It's so great how he builds things like that. And also, I love how it ends, because there's too many times, which I think he's guilty of sometimes, where he tries to wrap up an ending. He tries to think, right, the bad guy got his comeuppance and stuff, which is fine. But what I like about The Birds is it's literally like them just walking to the car, all the birds just standing there, and you think, are they going to attack them or not? You don't know. It could happen any second now.
Yeah.
And one of them sort of like pecks at his, God, this is it. It's going to start. They're going to get killed. And no, they get in the car and then they drive off. So it's not like as if...
Well, I suppose the reality of that situation is you can't kill all the birds in the world, so...
No. It
can't end, really.
No, and I like that it's not like some scientist suddenly turns up and goes, I found out what it was. The birds are pissed off because you've been feeding them bread. And like, I'm going to change things now. You know what I mean? Like, they try to explain things. Like in M. Night Shyamalan done that film, The Happening, or something like that.
I haven't saw it, but I know.
I think it was like The Air or some stupid thing. Why would you try to explain things? Sometimes it's better not to explain it and just leave people thinking, what can they do?
What could happen next? I wonder.
It's almost like a zombie film, because like the vast majority of zombie films, they don't get rid of the zombies.
No.
It's very
get away in some way or another.
Yeah, you either learn to live with them, or they get away, or one person gets away, or they all die. The zombies always win, and that's what I like about The Birds. It's almost like a zombie film, except for obviously birds. So yeah, that's my 4.
I think we've got the same top 3 then, I reckon.
But in what order?
I think yours will be slightly different.
Yeah, my number 3, Rear Window.
Okay.
Oh.
Very good.
You didn't think Rear Window would be my number 3?
No, actually, no, I don't. It's in the top 3. I don't think I could have got the order with you.
No, Rear Window's number 3, which, fair play. Look, the thing is, all of them in the top 10 I love. The top, like those top 4 are ones that I've watched loads of times. I've watched over and over again.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's in there, you should feel honoured, really.
Me?
You.
Oh, okay.
So I know you love it. No, obviously we've done a podcast on Rear Window. Yeah. But no, I love, again, the simple concept of a man in one room watching his neighbours, and he suspects one of them's murdered someone. It's so simple, and yet
all filmed in one place.
But also, what's great about these Hitchcock things, they're not just simple ideas. He delivers on them, because it's easy enough to give someone a simple concept and then they ruin the execution. You're like, I'm bored now, but you don't get bored with it. It gives you just enough every so often, a little bit more. Something else happens, dog gets killed, and you're like, God, the dog got killed. So he ups it a little bit each time. It's like someone coming in, slowly turning up the volume on your music, and you think it's getting louder, it's getting more and more intense. How's this going to end? And it keeps you guessing all the way through, because you really don't know how it's going to end. As soon as he knows that Jimmy's watching, then you start thinking,
the threat's here now. That's it.
if Jimmy's in his wheelchair, what's he gonna do? You know. So yeah, I love Rear Window.
In the same way, a lot of similarities to Dull End for Murder for me. It's just like a slow build in one place. What can you do? It's all about how you put it together, isn't it?
And he does. You know, this is why I like him as a director. How he can keep you interested. This is, you know, modern cinema, I think, is terrible in general because they don't do things like that. They chuck everything at the film. They go, well, let's make a sequel. Let's make Rear Window 2, even rearer. It's like, and this time it's going to be, the building's twice as big and there's 2 murders, you know, and his arms ain't working either. His arms are, and they think, what are they doing now? It's ridiculous. It's, you know, it's like when you was a kid and people read you stories. No, but like, say if someone read you like Hansel and Gretel when you was a kid, would they then come the next night and go, I've got Hansel and Gretel too? Yeah, I don't. Why? Which is dead. They don't need it. You know, it's he does these great films, these great stories. It's, you know, and they pay off so well. You know. So, what's your number 3?
What do you think it is?
Okay, let me guess. Vertigo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3, which could be number 1. My last 3 could be in any order, depending on how I feel, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. Vertigo is unreal, isn't it? I mean, and that's often regarded as the best movie ever made, isn't it? I think a lot of people regard it as Hitchcock's best film. It's just massive, isn't it? You can look into it in so many different ways. There's so much going on. Yeah. Psychologically, and then obviously.
I think out of all his films, for me, it is so eerie. It's the most eerie. It's the eeriest one. Him as a character, as a person, is like the most horrible Jimmy's ever been.
Yeah, he's not great.
Like the way he's sort of like really bombarding her, changing her, moulding her into the woman.
See when he starts really forcing her to wear certain things and do certain things, you're like,
I can't matter to you. Come on, put on the strap on. I don't mind.
It looks, it's amazing. The colours and that whole scene in the restaurant and all the red and everything.
And her green, isn't it? Her green dress.
Yeah, and it's all a bit like, it's all a bit gross in a way.
Yeah.
It's such a, man, all the dream sequences are unbelievable.
And the score, everything.
Yeah, the scores are amazing.
Nothing I can change about it. And again, it executes the ending perfectly. It's such a sort of dour, sort of depressing ending. And sometimes you need that in film. I love upbeat films. I love really happy go like feel good films. That's not one of them.
No,
that's
right
one.
For it, I think.
Yeah, but sometimes you just think, sitting at home alone in the evening, maybe on a stormy night, and you sit there and watch Vertigo. You think, oh god, fantastic! It's definitely that was the first Hitchcock film I ever saw, Vertigo, and I've done a podcast on that before with Ben.
Yeah.
When I went into more detail on it, but that was actually unavailable for a long time. Yeah, because Hitchcock he took it four films out of he took them out of circulation so people couldn't watch them, and gave them to his daughter. I think.
One, was it?
Yeah, and it's for when he died. I think, and then when he died, then it was re-released. But I think at the time as well, Vertigo wasn't well received.
No, I had that too.
Yeah, which maybe they weren't ready for it, but it was, for me, it's definitely better than, well, as I said, as you've said, it's better than most of his films. So, you know, I think now it's definitely held up higher.
It's so different to all his other films as well. It's not really about a murder or anything, kind of. It's much more.
It's obsession, isn't it?
It's obsession. Yeah, it's really
a
strange watch, isn't it?
And the villain, spoiler alert, villain gets away with it, doesn't he? Yeah, because he's killed his wife, got the money, buggered off to Europe, and left Jimmy and this other woman to do whatever. You know? So yeah, crime does pay, I guess. So what's your number 2?
Now this was really hard. What do you think it is? Guess what number 1's going to be.
I think your number 2 is Psycho.
It is, which was almost number 1. It's just, that film is just a masterpiece as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I think it's regarded by, even people who don't like Hitchcock, you've got to regard it as a classic. And
the themes are really, again, it's such a massive, you could dive into it. Every time you watch it, you see something else. There's a lot going on. And the whole, you know, the whole story of following, you know, we talked about that, didn't we, the protagonist halfway through, then it sort of stops, and you think, eh? And then
Yeah.
another one comes in, and then we follow a new journey. It's all a bit weird, and I definitely watched it again recently with my partner Lauren.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I wasn't starting on who I watched it, but I was thinking about trying to remember what we spoke about, and she was saying, and I was wondering if she was catching on to the fact that the whole mother thing and what's going on.
She'd never seen it.
No, or she said she thinks she had, but it'd been years and she didn't
Mm.
remember it at all. So I thought, well, let's watch it. And obviously, I was just looking out for little moments in the film, trying to sort of see it through her eyes, thinking, is there anything that really gives it away that he is his mother, or dressing up as his mother, or whatever? Are we giving spoilers away in this? Is it okay
Don't worry about it.
most people see it?
Go watch every Hitchcock film, then watch this. Go on.
And there's that shot where you see up in the window as a woman, obviously with a wig on, and unless you knew that was him dressed up, you could think, well, there's a woman up there. You wouldn't think, would you? You wouldn't know. So I think to suggest that you, I think she did know, but I don't know if if she just caught on, or if she just remembered, or it was just because of everyone talks about it and everyone knows that Norman Bates is basically dressing up as his mother.
Spoiler. Yeah.
And I think it's frightening. And the scenes, even with the detective, I forgot. The last time I watched it, I think I forgot that he dies in it. I can't remember his name. Good actor as well.
But he's in 12 Angry Men as well, I think.
Yes, he is.
He's juror number 1 in 12 Angry Men.
Yeah, it's got it's influential on cinema, isn't it? There's so many firsts in that film. It looks great. It sounds great. Another great score. Amazing location. How famous the house is. The whole motel thing. The Norman Bates character. All of it is huge.
Yeah.
It's influenced everything.
Oh,
and
definitely.
The horror genre as well. It's massive. It's just
it was like the first on so many levels, and I like that he went back to black and white for it as well. It's fantastic in black and white. They should make more black and white films.
I think that's the problem I had with trying to put it number 1 nearly. And the reason I annoy him a little bit. I wanted to put it number 1 because there's so many things about it. It's sort of perfect.
Yeah.
The shots they used and some of the cinematography again, and the direction was unreal. There's so many factors to it that make it. It's one of my favourite films in general.
Oh yeah, me too. What do you think my number 2 is?
Rear Window.
No, that was my number 3.
Oh yeah, so I think your number 2 is Vertigo. No, what? Maybe Psycho. Oh, Vertigo.
Is that your final answer? Yeah.
Is it?
It is, but the thing is, if you ask me 9 times out of 10, I'd say Vertigo's number 1 for me because it's so personal to me. But when I made my list for this one, something about Psycho just pushed it number 1. So spoiler, Psycho's my number 1. But Vertigo was just pushed down to number 2, but I still love it. Like for what we said, I like these dark films, and I love it's so atmospheric, and the music, the score I've got on my Spotify playlist, and it's everything about the film. I can just watch it so many times, and I like introducing it to people as well. When people, especially if people think they know Hitchcock and they think they've got the gist of it. Like there's so many films which are great films, like those are the ones we've mentioned, where in the end the good guy wins. The right ending happens. So when something like Vertigo comes along, people just sort of, God, what just happened? And the bit at the end with the nun and everything, when you watch that for the first time, you're like, it comes out of nowhere. You think, is it a ghost? You think, what the hell is it? Something's like, what's that noise? And sort of steps up. You can believe that it would scare her. It would scare her enough to fall off of the bell tower, And you think at that point, he'd gone mental anyway when he thought she'd died, and he wasn't sure if she's back. Now he knows she's dead. Surely that's it. In a matter of seconds, he's about to jump off there as well, because you can imagine that really sort of destroying him, and makes me feel better about my life. If whatever's happening, if someone cuts me up in traffic, I think, well, at least I'm not him. And then, as I said, I look up. I know one step at a time, Mary. No, I always go back to Wonderful Life. But yeah, number 1, Psycho for me.
Yeah, my number 1 was Rear Window. Obviously, we don't need to build up that, do we?
Yeah, but yeah, with Psycho. But as I said, if I'd done this tomorrow, Vertigo would go back to number 1. But Psycho is just, it is special. And again, even though it's technically it's number of location, but it's not really. It's sort of just it throws you off because you think you're following this woman who's stolen this money, and her sort of conscience, like her crisis of conscience, thinking, should I return the money? Have I done it? Can I get it back in time? It's the weekend. Can I do it? You know, and all the things that she's going through. Yeah, and then you're thinking, is she going to get caught? Is this what it's about? And then she goes and meets this really nice man, Anthony Perkins, who, well, I think he seems like a nice man anyway. He's really sort of amiable, friendly, and every time I watch that, I always think the same thing. I always think he should have had a much bigger career because he
was upset after he was just typecast, and that was kind of over for him, didn't he?
Yeah, but but when you watch that film and his performance it's one of the most nuanced performances I can think of. I think he's so underrated, his performance in that. And when you look at all the like I said, he should have really gone on to do massive things after that. You could have put him in anything really, given him other roles. But I imagine people just thought that's the danger of nailing the character. Yeah, danger of nailing the character so well as they go.
He was so good at that.
We want you to play this duplicitous character again.
But at the end of the cell,
yeah,
the moments, even the little bits of dialogue when he's in the office.
A few years ago, Mother met this man, and he talked her into building this motel. He could have talked her into anything. And when he died too, it was just too great a shock for her. And the way he died. I guess it's nothing to talk about while you're eating. Anyway, it was just too great a loss for her. She had nothing left.
Except you.
Well, a son is a poor substitute for a lover.
Why don't you go away?
He starts talking about his boy's best friend as his mother, but also the other thing he said, do you remember that line that he delivers about oh so delicately or whatever he said? Do you remember the line?
I meant well.
People always mean well. They cluck their thick tongues and shake their heads and suggest oh so very delicately.
Why don't you go away?
The way he looks and the way he sounds and everything.
Yeah, but
so
he also
horrible.
seems like you can. He does seem like, so. If you didn't know the twist, and he's like, "Oh my God, mother, what have you done?" You'd think that poor boy, he's got this nutty mum, and he's covering up for her. And it was such a great. You imagine when people first watched it, it would have blown them away.
Absolutely, without know, would you?
Without no. I think he shoots. I know what you were saying before. I was thinking, there's no way. I don't think anyone would know unless they know throughout other sources. Like you said, like when people say Darth Vader's Luke Skywalker's father. Yeah. Spoiler alert for Star Wars. But this is the thing. Everyone knows that. But the first time they went to see Empire Strikes Back, they were blown away. They was like, no. There's no way people would have guessed that. No. And you're envious almost. You think, like I knew that Norman Bates' mum, well, he was his mum. He was dressed up as his mum. I knew that before I see Psycho. But
doesn't ruin it.
No, it's still a great film, but it's just that little bit extra. You'd love that, yeah. It's like whenever I show Lily films, or Ben, like with the podcast, like when we watched Witness for the Prosecution the other week, I made sure, I said, do you know the film? Well, no, I don't think so. Okay. Don't look at, stay off your phone, because people just, especially if you're watching at home, people on their phone go, oh, who's that? Oh, hold on a sec, I've heard of this person. I know what happens here. Just little things can ruin it. Yeah. So even with like, if someone goes and sees a film, I'll just say, okay, is it good? And they say, yeah. I say, that's all you have to tell me. I'll go watch it. Oh, but all I'll say is this one thing. And you say, no, can you shut up? I don't need you to say this one thing because your brain works things out and it's annoying. But yeah, so Psycho is my number one and yours is Rear Window. I would have guessed that.
It's not just because of my love for James Stewart either.
No.
Well, obviously, I think that's the first film I saw him in. It was. And again, I remember sitting with my parents and I watched it, and it was just as I was starting the film course at college. And sat there and we watched it, complete silence, no distractions. It completely blew me away. It had everything. It was the subtlety of the one location thing again that we should just be speaking about. But I was completely gripped. I couldn't wait. And so all those things you said about every little scene had something else you were hanging on to. Oh God, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen to them? And what's he just seen? And what's he looking at? And the whole shot, see him and see what he sees thing is it's unreal. I think also it just takes me back to seeing it for the first time and being so blown away by it. And it's just stuck with me, the feeling that it gave me. And every time I watch it, I love it just as much.
Yeah.
I think that's what started off my thing of who's this amazing actor? What else is he in?
Yeah.
Wow, he's brilliant in that as well. And he's brilliant in that as well.
Yeah.
There's just no way that I couldn't have had that film. It's number 1 or 2.
I would.
Was up there as a huge masterpiece as well.
I was actually surprised that you said you went back and forth. When you said you went back and forth between that and Psycho, in my head I thought, no, I would have put money on you putting Rear Window
It had to be number 1. I think I would have put it above Rear Window. It's just that on many lists, Psycho is just one of my favourite films as well.
See, it's almost like I want to throw a curveball because, as I said, if I'd done this list a month ago, Vertigo would have been solid number 1. And it was literally, as I was writing it down, something about Psycho popped into my head. There was something about the imagery, about the shower scene in particular, because, okay, people know it without even seeing the film, but how beautiful it is, how it's so quiet and how the door opens and you think, going up for the first time, you think, well, what's going to happen? Is he going to surprise her? Is she going to get away? In fact, she just gets murdered. It's so intense. And
that was all very original as well. I always think about it as well when I was sitting there writing my list and I put Rear Window straight away at number 1. And I was working out the rest of the list and I was like, why am I putting Psycho? And suddenly imagery popped into my head as well. And I pictured the house and even like the little motel, the way it was lit and the characters and the world that was created and its cinematic history is a masterpiece. Yeah.
I actually see that house before I see the Psycho.
Really?
Because you're on the Universal tour.
Yeah, on the lot.
Yeah, and they said and even then seeing it, I thought, well, it looks a creepy house. I had no idea about Psycho at the time. And I wish I hadn't known anything about it, but unfortunately I didn't get to see Psycho until I was after Vertigo, so I was probably about 15, 16, by which point it had been spoiled for me a number of times. I think even my mum used to say things like that, like, oh, Norman Bates dressing up like his mum or something like that. Who? And it sort of works out. Yeah. But no, it's good. Well, thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Pretty similar, I think. Didn't we have?
Yeah, I think it was pretty close.
Those last, the top 5 is pretty similar. You had what were the differences? I think the differences we had were I Confess you had, and I had Shadow of a Doubt. They were the only ones that
yes, didn't have. And Shadow of a Doubt was very nearly on my list.
Interesting then. So you didn't put Notorious in at all?
No,
I haven't seen it.
I watched it, especially for this, and I know it's I've seen some lists it's at number 1. Some people really love that film, and I enjoyed it. And I mean, I can't really say too much about it to you because you haven't watched it, have you? What do you know about it?
Not a lot, really. Just generally who's in it and what it's about, the theme. I think that's probably one of those things as well that
it's like an espionage type thing,
which was never really my thing.
No,
so that's probably why I thought, it's not one that I'm really desperate to watch. It just kept slipping by me.
But
I keep seeing all these lists or seeing people say, "Oh, have you seen Notorious?"
I think the espionage thing is more like a back setting to a love triangle in a way. It's more like about I think like people getting jealous of each other and stuff like that. It doesn't do it as intensely as other films because of the whole time it's to do with spies and stuff. So someone, well, I ain't bothered.
Yeah,
she could do whatever she wants. Bloody mug. That's exactly how they talk. It's all Cockney, isn't it? But no, it's a great film. It's really well shot and stuff. It's just it didn't make it into my list, but I did consider it along with Shadow of a Doubt and as well as The Wrong Man as well.
That was on my honourable mention. I had teetering around at number 10
with
Rebecca were 39 Steps. I love that. And The Wrong Man, and really. I liked I Confess as well, actually. I
also did like Lady Vanishes. But there was something about the comedy element. I don't like Hitchcock's comedy as much. Yeah, like Trouble with Harry. All right, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and share. And happy Halloween.
Why don't you go away?